That was quick. Okay, good evening, everyone. Good evening to our esteemed speaker today, for who is based out of Bengaluru, India. Welcome to our session Management Training, Preparing for the Future, a series organized by Alpha Education, Saudi Arabia, with strategic partnership with Dhanansagar Sagar University Executive Education. This series is designed to bring valuable industry-focused insights to professionals and aspiring leaders in Saudi Arabia. Every week, we invite an industry expert to share practical knowledge on key management topics such as marketing, finance, leadership, supply chain, project management, data analytics, and much more. At Dhanansagar Sagar University Executive Education, we are committed to helping working professionals upskill and thrive in today's rapidly evolving business landscape. Our programs bridge the gap between academic excellence and practical industry experience, empowering individuals to confidently navigate real-world challenges. Alpha Education is dedicated to empowering professionals through comprehensive programs such as Executive MBA, Post-Diploma Certificate in Management, which is PDCM, and various certificate courses. We also offer weekly webinars such as this, which is led by esteemed professors covering topics such as leadership, strategy, digital marketing, and much more. Our mission is to provide flexible, industry-relevant education, which equips individuals with the right set of skills that's needed to excel in today's dynamic business environment. And today, we are really delighted to host Professor Chandrashekar PK, who will be discussing effective communication for leaders. We'll have a brief Q&A towards the end of the session, where we'll pick a few questions towards the end of this session. I would request our participants to feel free to post your questions during the session in the chat. And don't forget to fill the form and get your free participation certificate as well. With due permission, sir, I would like to introduce you to everyone who are present in this webinar. Professor Chandrashekar is a science graduate with a PGDM, in marketing from XIM Bhubaneswar. He has over 2 decades of business experience in sales and distribution management and business development in consumer goods, IT services, and management consulting. He has also worked in large MNCs and startups in India and the Middle East, and in organizations such as ITC Limited, Aujan Group, Gallup Consulting, Educom Solutions. He currently teaches marketing, HRM, and general management subjects at Dhanansagar Sagar University and few other leading institutions. He also helps students with skill development for employability and career. Sir, it's a pleasure hosting you today, and we can't wait what you're going to share and discuss in terms of your experiences about this particular topic. Thank you very much for gracing this occasion, sir. Over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Rajan. It's my pleasure equally to be, with you and, walking you through this session on communication. And I'm sure all of us understand the importance of communication, especially when we are in the industry as such. Okay. And we all communicate. I hope I'm clearly audible. Am I clearly audible to all of you?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we all communicate, but do we communicate effectively? And that's a big question mark. Okay. So we all understand what communication is, but at the end of the day, we all expect it to be what's called as effective communicators. So what is effective communication? We understand communication, but what is effective communication? So effective communication is a skill which all of us can develop as such. It is not something which is very difficult. Only a bit of a practice will help us to become effective communicators. Let me tell you, communication, when we say, it's not just, saying something, but when we talk about the real communication, you want the audience, the receivers, you are the sender and the receivers, to understand your communication in the way the sender wants them to understand. And that's the problem. Okay. So more often than not, the audience, understands these things, the communication from the sender in their own ways as such. Okay. So that's may not be an effective communication. Today, our topic, so that's briefly about the communication. Today, our topic is all about communication, effective communication for leaders. As a leader, how effective should you be in your communication? Why is it important? Is it necessary for a leader, okay, to be communicating effectively as such. Okay, so before I start off, let me start with a quote from George Bernard Shaw. He quotes, the single biggest problem with communication is the illusion that it has been achieved. Okay, so this is a quote from George Bernard Shaw. What it means is that we say something, we have communicated, and we assume that the objective of the communication has been achieved. And in the words of George Bernard Shaw, it is an illusion. Okay, so we need to look at it a little more deeply as we go forward. And here is one more quote I would like you to know it is that wise men talk because they have something to say, right? And fools because they have to say something. This is from Plato as such. Okay, so this is with what I have started with a quote. So let's delve a little more deeper into understand what leadership communication is all about as such. Okay, so let me introduce you. So today it is just not enough for the leaders, to be excellent business strategists. Okay, the leaders have to be great communicators as well. Okay, so this is what when we say when we know that effective leadership is all about being synonymous with strong communication skills in the business landscape. Leaders today are not solely defined by the strategic decisions which they make, but rather they need to connect, inspire, and motivate their teams. Okay, so we'll understand, in this leadership communication, there are two important words. One is leadership, and the other one is communication. So what happens in the future is that it's just not enough to be effective strategists, but you need to energize your whole team through the words which you choose. You need to be very effective in your choice of the words when you are communicating with others as a leader. Okay, so the era of managing by dictatorship, by micromanaging, is all now replaced with inspiration, a leader. So we'll come to understand what a leader is all about in a moment. So before that, the foremost among the new leadership skills demanded is the ability to craft and articulate a message that is highly motivational. So what we are understanding here is that a leader is somebody who is inspirational and who is also going to motivate as such. Okay, but more often than not, unfortunately, it seems that there are few business leaders and managers who today possess such skills. So here is the crux. Okay, so who's a leader, right? So that's the question. So who is a leader? What do you think? Any answers for that? Let's keep it a little interactive if it's possible. We say leader.
Yeah, you all
Anybody?
can post it on the
Yeah,
comment
can you
box.
post it? Yeah.
Someone who inspires or motivates others.
Absolutely, yeah. So as we said now, yeah. So a leader has to be somebody who is inspires. Okay, yeah, great. Yes, you're right, and at the same time motivates them to as well. Any others?
So there are two responses. Ayush says someone who acts as a pioneer.
Uh huh.
And then Mahwish Shamsi says leader is a person who has confidence in himself and his team. I think that also is a brilliant one. Yeah.
Very brilliant one. Yeah, a leader has to be confident. Okay, very right. Very right. Yeah. So one important thing you need to understand here is that a leader has to have followers. If he does not have followers, where is the leadership? Are you getting it? And a leader is a person who has a vision, whether it is a business corporate or whether it is a country or whether it is a small team. Okay, so one, he has got a vision and mission, and he is mission driven, and At the same time, how does a leader fulfill his vision? Can he do it alone by himself? Impossible, right? He has to work, he has to have a team. Otherwise, we generally call as what is called as the followers. A leader is a person who is inspiring his followers, motivating his followers in realizing the vision he has for the company or the country or for any other thing for that matter. And this is the broad definition of what a leader is all about. And in the words of Cotter, who is a guru on leadership, he says that, leadership is all about bringing in change. So leadership means change. And you would have seen that, in most corporates or in the politics as well, that whenever there is a new leader, there is a change coming in. And how is he managing that change? It is through his followers or his teams as such. So this is what I wanted to start it off with, a brief note on what leadership, because we all have our own notions of what leadership. And if you Google, there are hundreds and thousands of definitions of what leadership is all about. Okay, so let's keep this definition and this understanding of what leadership is all about. Okay, so here you will see that and leadership is a very, very broad umbrella term. Okay, so and it's generally we think when we say leader, it's somebody who is on the top echelons in the organization. No, every one of us can be a leader as such at our own level, irrespective of the fact whether you have a position or you don't have a position. Okay, so you can still be a leader even if you don't hold position. So there are positional leaders and there are others who are called as the informal leaders. Okay, so to give you some examples over here, CEOs of businesses, okay, and then you have the leaders of armies, okay, and then you could be a team leader, okay, yourself, where you may be having a small team as well, or you could be a manager for a division or for an office. Okay, apart from that, you could also be informal, where you don't have no leader formal position you hold in the organization, or you don't have any power, but others may be coming up to you or looking up to you for inspiration, motivation, advice, and things like that. Okay, so this is the broad concept of what leader is all about. Okay, and when we look at this, what is called as the leadership, okay, so please understand that leadership is something you do, something you do, and not something you are. And this is where it comes. Generally we all tend to think, that a person who is above my level is a leader, okay, or the person whom you are working under could be a leader. No, not necessarily. Okay, so if that person with whom you are working under does not inspire you and are not motivated to work under that leadership, under that person, then you can't call him as a leader as such. Okay, so as I mentioned to you, that leadership is all about bringing in change, and when we talk about change, we talk about a positive change as such. Okay, so in most organizations, as you know, that they will, the leaders will elevate them, their individual managers, to a whole new level. Okay, change in some basic ways to take advantage of new opportunities as well. So the leaders also constantly are looking out for opportunities. So this is John P. Cotter, who is a management guru on leadership, is guru on leadership. This is how he defines leadership. Okay, so I read it out, from John Cotter. Leadership is most fundamentally about changes. Okay, so what the leaders do is create the systems and organizations that managers need and eventually elevate them to a whole new level. Okay, or change in some basic ways to take advantage of the new opportunities John P. Cotter, unquote. Okay. Next, so I hope you're understanding what the leadership is all about. And now communication, you all understand what communication is all about. So in a communication, as you all know that, I'm just putting up what is called as a linear communication. There are several other models which we're not going into that, but for basic understanding of what communication is all about. So there is a sender, and there is a receiver, and there is a medium. Okay. And in the process of this communication happening, there is also some noise which happens as well. Okay. So let's see what is this in the simplest terms. Okay. The sender transmits a message via any channel. Okay. It could be, and when we say the channel, it is the medium. Okay. So it could be a written, it could be animation, it could be a speech, or it could be email, or anything, right? Okay. It could be even a body language. As you know, communication is broadly classified into verbal and non-verbal communication. Okay. So the message is reaches the receiver, and then he decodes as such. In the process, there is some kind of a noise also which happens. It's kind of a disturbance. So according to John Fesky in his book on Introduction to Communication Studies, defines noise as anything that is added to the signal between its transmission and reception, that is not intended by the source as such. Now let's say that you are communicating with someone, and then there is some noise which you did not want it to happen. Okay. So coming in between that conversation, or that the process of communication, is called as the noise as such. Okay, so now we have understood what is leadership broadly, and I hope we have understood what is communication. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we have what is called as the leadership communication. So what is leadership communication? How is it different from the ordinary communication? So we will look into that as such. Okay, any thoughts on this, what leadership communication means from any of you, please? If you can, just put it on to the chat box. Okay. Yes, any communication which origins from a leader and create change and to motivate. All right, great, fantastic, right? Yeah, I'm sure you have a fair understanding of what leadership communication is all about, I should say, at this point in time. Okay, so leadership communication, when it comes to leadership communication, it is all about how the leaders pass or communicate, or share an information. Not only sharing the information, but how are they inspiring the others. Okay, and this includes, okay, so it's sharing of the information and inspiration. And it also encompasses, as I mentioned to you earlier, that communication is all about verbal, non-verbal, and written messages. How you write, I have some examples to show you. Even when a leader is writing, how effective could he be in writing as such? Okay, so it could be from leaders, as you all understand, give instructions, okay, and give feedback to their direct reports at whatever level across the organization, and they share the vision with the employees. Okay, and and in the eventuality that there are some differences of opinion or conflict amongst the various team, they intervene and they mediate and they settle those conflict issues. Okay, they they update the stakeholders, whoever is the stakeholders, constantly on what's happening in the organization, or even for that matter within the political system as well. Okay, and this effective communication in leadership is very, very critical. If a leader does not share information, does not inspire, or does not give feedback, or does not resolve the conflicts, then it is not an effective communication or leadership from the person who holds himself in a leadership position as such. And critical, and leadership, as you all understand, leadership is very critical in the organization or any context, organizational context as such. Okay, having said that, why is communication important? Okay, so as you all understand by this time that a leader is one who inspires positively. He brings in incremental change in the individuals, across by empowering those who are in his team or working with him, all towards a common objective. As you all understand that all of us in the organizations work towards a common objective, and that is where the leadership communication becomes very important. So a leader's most powerful tool for doing this is the communication as such. Okay, so and by effective communication, he gains trust. Trust is very important as a follower or as a team member. You have to have trust. So how do you build the trust? You can build that trust only when you are communicating effectively. So we look at that, how we go about how a leader can enhance his communication as we go forward. Okay, so when the communication is lacking, right, when there is no communication from the leader, for example, if there's such a situation arise, the followers start interpreting, right? Okay, interpreting in the sense they misinterpret. Oh, why has the leader not spoken to us? Why has the leader, our boss, has not communicated to us? Okay, and in the process the could lead to relationships being suffering, and there could be barriers which are created between the leaders and the followers because of lack of communication. So that's where it becomes very essential for the leaders to be in constant or regular communication with his followers as such, and that is the crux of what we are saying here. Okay, now, so how can leaders, okay, we said that, okay, leaders have to be effective, they are inspirational, motivational, they bring in change and all those things. So let's look at, how leaders can communicate effectively as such. Okay, so good, as you all realize that, good communication is the hallmark of a good leadership. Okay, so there are some fundamental basic tools which for effective communication, and some of them are listed here, not exhaustive, but the important ones over here. So first and foremost, a leader has to define and point what are the long-term goals. As you understand that a leader has a vision. A vision is into the future, is looking into the future as such. Okay, and not only that, a leader has got multiple followers, multiple teams, okay, multiple subordinates, and he has to understand them. He has to listen to them. A great characteristic or quality of a leader, he is not only a good speaker but also a good listener as well. A leader, to be effective, has to be a good listener. And when we say listener, we are not just talking about just listening, but to be an active listener as such, okay, with all the stakeholders. And also at the same time, as we said that, he has to create openings for it. A leader cannot shut off his people as such. He has to be in regular communication. He has to create as many opportunities as possible for a dialogue with them, and communicate proactively and not reactively. So he has to proactively think that, something, if it looks that, something is likely to go wrong, then he should not, communicate after something has gone wrong. He has to proactively prevent that, something going wrong to happen, and that is what is called as proactive communication as such. Okay, so these are broadly the tools where a leader can become an effective communicator as such. Okay, And here I have a short video, okay, of Apple's phone launch by Steve Jobs. Okay, I'll just only a few minutes of this video for you to understand what I said in the previous slide, like, define the long-term goals, listen, understand stakeholders, and create openings for dialogue is, and communicating proactively is happening or not. I hope you would be able to hear to this audio. Uh, yeah, here as it goes.
This is a day.
Yeah, sir, audible. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Every once in a while, a revolutionary product comes along that changes everything. And Apple has been, well, first of all, one's very fortunate. You get to work on just one of these in your career. Apple's been very fortunate. It's been able to introduce a few of these into the world. In 1984, we introduced the Macintosh. It didn't just change Apple, it changed the whole computer industry. In 2001, we introduced the first iPod. And it didn't just change the way we all listen to music. It changed the entire music industry. Well, today, we're introducing 3 revolutionary products in this class. The first one is a widescreen iPod with touch controls. The second is a revolutionary mobile phone. And the third is a breakthrough internet communications device. So, 3 things: a widescreen iPod with touch controls, a revolutionary mobile phone, and a breakthrough internet communications device. An iPod, a phone, and an internet communicator. An iPod, a phone. Are you getting it? These are not 3 separate devices. This is one device. And we are calling it iPhone. Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone. Actually, here it is, but we're going to leave it there for now. Most advanced phones are called smartphones, so they say. And they typically combine a phone plus some email capability, plus they say it's the internet, sort of the baby internet, into one device. And they all have these plastic little keyboards on them. And the problem is that they're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. So if you kind of make a business school 101 graph of the smart axis and the easy to use axis, phones, regular cell phones, are kind of right there. They're not so smart and they're not so easy to use. But smartphones are definitely a little smarter, but they actually are harder to use. They're really complicated. Just for the basic stuff, people have a hard time figuring out how to use them. Well, we don't want to do either one of these things. What we want to do is make a leapfrog product that is way smarter than any mobile device has ever been, and super easy to use. This is what iPhone is. Okay? So we're going to reinvent the phone. Now we're going to start with a revolutionary user interface. This is a day I've been looking forward to for 2.5 years. Every once in a while.
Okay, I hope you like the presentation which was done by Steve Jobs over here during the time of the their iPhone launch as such. Okay, so he was addressing the entire workforce at Apple as such. Okay, so that's just to give you a glimpse of how a leader should be ideally be communicating as such. Okay, and now, so coming to that, how are we going to enhance the communication skills? Okay, so as you all know that when we talk about communication, it is also includes listening, it also includes writing, it also includes speaking, it also includes reading as well. Okay, so individuals can how can they improve, enhance their communication skills? The leaders, okay, they have to do by active listening. Okay, so they have to need to practice active listening and also using clear and concise language, as you saw in the previous video at the Apple launch as such by Steve Jobs. His was very clear language, very concise language, not making, too garish language as such. And he also was adjusting their style to suit the individuals and the situation which was warranting at that point in time as such. Okay, so important things to understand here is that you can improve as a leader if you want. You can attend to working with a communication coach, or you can go through some of the courses as such. Okay, and the research studies have emphasized that that effective communicators should be actively listen, and not only actively listen, they also should provide the feedback and adjust their messaging based on the audience needs. Please understand, whenever you are, this is a very important thing, that whenever you're speaking to speaking to anybody, please understand whom you are speaking to. Understand your audience before you actually start addressing them as such, because the audiences could be different in different contexts as such, and as a leader you have to adjust your messaging based on the requirement or the needs of the audience whom you are addressing as such. Okay, so here is one other video on the lead. I'm not going to run this full this thing. Right here we have said that the readers are good storytellers as such, and here is one such thing which would really let you understand how to tell a story as a leader. Okay, so here is one. Please look at this.
In case you're wondering, no, I'm not wearing a dress. And no, I'm not saying what I'm wearing underneath. This is a core. This is my national dress. This is how all men dress in Bhutan. That is how our women dress. Like our women, we men get to wear pretty bright colors. But unlike our women, we get to show off our legs. Our national dress is unique, but this is not the only thing that's unique about my country. Our promise to remain carbon neutral is also unique. And this is what I'd like to speak about today, our promise to remain carbon neutral. But before I proceed, I should set you the context. I should tell you our story. Bhutan is a small country in the Himalayas. We've been called Shangri-La, even the last Shangri-La. But let me tell you right off the bat, we are not Shangri-La. My country is not one big monastery populated with happy monks. The reality is that there are barely 700,000 of us sandwiched between two of the most populated countries on earth, China and India. The reality is that we are a small, underdeveloped country doing our best to survive. But we're doing okay. We're surviving. In fact, we're thriving. And the reason we are thriving is because we've been blessed with extraordinary kings. Our enlightened monarchs have worked tirelessly to develop our country, balancing economic growth carefully with social development, environmental sustainability, and cultural preservation, all within a framework of good governance. We call this holistic approach to development gross national happiness, or GNH. Back in the 1970s, our fourth king famously pronounced that for Bhutan, gross national happiness is more important than gross national product. Ever since, all development in Bhutan is driven by GNH, a pioneering vision that aims to improve the happiness and well-being of our people. But that's easier said than done, especially when you're one of the smallest economies in the world. Our entire GDP is less than $2 billion. I know that some of you here are worth more individually than the entire economy of my country. So our economy is small. But here's where it gets interesting. Education is completely free. All citizens are guaranteed free school education, and those that work hard are given free college education. Healthcare is also completely free. Medical consultation, medical treatment, medicines, they're all provided by the state. We manage this because we use our limited resources very carefully, and because we stay faithful to the core mission of GNH, which is development with values. Our economy is small and we must strengthen it. Economic growth is important, but that economic growth must not come from undermining our unique culture or our pristine environment. Today, our culture is flourishing. We continue to celebrate our art and architecture.
Okay, so I guess you like this story. This is by the Prime Minister of Bhutan as such. Okay, so you look at the audience, as to what they're expecting, and you adjust that according to the requirement of the audiences. Okay, so here let me tell you that the various ways which you can become an effective communicator is about use short words to talk about the hard things. Okay. So if you care about being credible and intelligent, okay, so when you are addressing, as a leader, do not use complex words, okay? So keep it simple language. And you saw in both the cases, of Steve Jobs as well as the Prime Minister of Bhutan, they were not using any complex words or using complex language. Okay, it was plain, simple English so that everybody would be able to understand. Okay, so this is what Daniel Kahneman, who was the Nobel Prize winner for economists. Okay, and he talks about in his book called Thinking Fast and Slow. So if you care about being credible, okay, so if you as a leader want to improve your credibility, okay, use simple language. Okay, so I read out. So if you care about being taught credible and intelligent, do not use complex language where simpler language will do. So one is that, so you use short and simple language. So he argues that if persuasive speakers and writers do everything they can to reduce cognitive strain, okay, so mental strain. Now, if you're going to use complex words and language in your communication with your followers, then it is going to, give a kind of cognitive strain, and you as a leader have to ensure that cognitive strain is reduced as such. When we talk about cognitive, we talk about something related to the mind aspects as such. I hope you understand this one. The second one, okay, is all about choose sticky metaphors to reinforce if you're some key concepts as such. Okay, as you all understand, a metaphor is a tool that compares abstract ideas to the familiar concepts as such. Okay, so here is an example for you, right? Suppose if you are talking about something complex or something very abstract, how do you make your audience connect with that or understand that? Okay, so here is a Canadian astronaut who tapped into the power of metaphor to describe an indescribable event as such. Okay, so what's that? So this is about the launch of the rockets. So 6 seconds before launch, suddenly this beast starts roaring like a dragon starting to breathe fire. You are like a little leaf in a hurricane, and as those engines light up, you feel like you are in the jaws of an enormous dog that is shaking and you physically pummeling you with power as such. So here, what was he talking about? Okay. So he talks about the roaring beasts and leaves in a hurricane, jaws of a dog is all something which are concrete things which we can ever which we can uh, understand this much more easily as such, and where we can relate as well. So when you introduce a new or an abstract idea, okay, when you're coming out with something new, your audience will automatically search for something familiar, so that will help them to make a sense of it. So this is the idea. So what we're saying in the number two, to become the effective communicator as a leader is choose to sticky metaphors to reinforce your ideas as such. Number three, okay, so humanize, okay, so humanize data and create value. Yes, I'm saying that we should all use data, yes, but how will you make an ordinary person understand that data? Okay, so you need to, as I mentioned earlier, that as a leader you need to keep it simple so that an ordinary person, human being, will also able to understand that as such. Okay, and here is one example I would like to quote, from a famous astrophysicist and science educator, Neil Tyson. Okay, so turn data into language so that mere humans can understand. So how did he do that? One of Tyson's famous examples of humanizing data was when NASA, okay, National Aeronautics, NASA of US, launched the Cassini space probe to explore Saturn. So then, the skeptics, as you know, that when something new happens, there will be a lot of skeptics, okay, and they question, oh my God, this US NASA is spending $3 billion, and they saw that it's too much and it's kind of a waste as such, that's what the skeptics thought. So in order to remove that skepticism, so he had to address, and that's what $3 billion. So how would he make the ordinary people understand the importance of that? Okay, so Tyson, he appeared on the television and talk shows, and he wanted to educate the public on the benefits of that mission, the NASA mission to explore Saturn as such. Okay, so what did he do? So he said he pulled out the data comparison, and he wanted a rhetorical tool belt. He explained that $3 billion would be spread first and foremost over a period of 8 years. Okay, so and to that he added that the Americans spend more than 3 billion on the lip balm every year than NASA would have spent on the mission over that timeline. So now the people understand that it is not a big sum as such, because the Americans were spending more than that $3 billion dollars on the lip balm for every year as such. So the point here is that, if you want to demonstrate, or your idea and whatever the data, so humanize the data so that it makes it, it is relevant for the listeners as such. And he was addressing the American public as such, okay. So you have to make it relevant to them. Maybe some will understand, but the objective is that, most of them should be able to understand the spend, why that spend was happening, so they are in concurrence with what that happened. So the skepticism will get reduced, and that, you become more authentic as such, okay. And here the other one is that the fourth one which I would like to state here is that, make mission your mantra to align your teams, okay. So important thing as a leader, it is the responsibility to align your followers with your vision and mission asset. So how do we do that? How do you align? So the thing is that you need to live by your vision and keep constantly rhetorically keep telling about that, your vision and mission to your followers here. So I would like to take one example of this, how it was done by, a company called Medtronic. Medtronic is is a medical devices company in the US. I know it was founded about 50 years back by a person named called Earl Backen, and he was a medical device repairman. And one day while he was working in his garage, suddenly, the electricity in that, city, in US, went off, and the medical devices could not work as such because there was no power. Okay, because it was dependent on that. So what he did was that, he innovated, and built the first battery powered pacemaker that kept working even when the power is not there as such. So he went on a mission to call as alleviate pain, restore health, and extend life. So Bakken passed away recently in 2018 after 50 years after founding that Medtronic, which is still in existence. The company has changed a lot, but since then, but before, Medtronic employees were driven by the same 6 words that inspired Bakken at that time. So alleviate pain, restore health, and extend. So you have to keep, talking about your vision, mission constantly, regularly. Even, I understand that even before his death, that, he made a video recording, and he said that, asked his employees to stand by his mission as such, like alleviate pain, restore health, and extend life. Okay, so when transformational leaders, okay, so repeat this mission often, okay, it becomes a mantra. And what we mean by mantra? A mantra is nothing but a statement or a slogan that builds in strength as it is repeated. If you keep on, saying mantra, its, strength increases as such. So these are the 4 ways where, as a leader, you could perhaps be a much effective communicator if you're going to practice these things as such. Okay, so the other one thing which is, sir, how much time do we have? Can I take another 5-10 minutes?
Yes, sir.
Ajahn,
Definitely.
sir? Yeah.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
yeah. So leaders, I hope it's going okay. Are you able to, am I too fast or too slow? Is it
No,
pace is
sir.
okay?
It's all good. It's all good.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So leaders, as you all know that, communicate both publicly as well as privately. Is that right? Yes? Or they only communicate publicly or only privately? No, they do both. Leaders will do that. Now, here are the 4 quadrants of communication for leaders. So it is called as the public, private, and direct and indirect, okay, communication. So when it is public and direct, so how do the leaders should be communicating? Through presentation, through speeches, and through meetings, which you saw, like what Steve Jobs was doing. It was public and direct as such. So when public and it is, when it is private and it is direct, it is going to be a one-on-one personal face-to-face meeting as such. And when it is going to be public and indirect, okay, so a leader may send out a web or memo or publish a white paper or reports and things like that. And when it is private and indirect, he may be doing that, a leader may be doing it through letters or email or voicemail or memos as such. Okay. So these are the 4 ways in which a leader both publicly, in private, and also directly and indirectly communicates. But the catch here is, you can't be, if you can't be talking different things in different in different quadrants. If there's one thing which you have to talk across, okay, whether it is public direct or public indirect, or private direct and private indirect. You can't say one thing in public direct and say another thing in private direct as such. So if that is going to happen, or if you're going to say something in public indirect and private indirect, you're saying to so something, if there is a disconnect between what the leader is talking about in each of these quadrants, he has to talk, he has to communicate in each of these quadrants. If there is no consistency, then that is a danger. People will start, doubting, because if you say one thing in one context, in one quadrant, and another in the other context. So what we're talking about here is that the consistency of the communication across the various domains, whether it is public, private, and direct and indirect as such. Okay, so this you need to keep at the back of your mind if you want to be an authentic leader as such. Okay, and so to enhance the communications, okay, as I mentioned to you earlier, that it has to be concise. What is concise? Minimum words, maximum impact. Minimum words, maximum impact. That's what we mean by concise. And clear communication is very, very fundamental for you to be an effective leader. So, and leaders with great communication skills express their ideas and expectations which will resonate with their team and followers as such. Okay. Apart from that, it is also necessary that they need to be practicing active listening. Okay, and also it's just not only verbal, it is also about be aware of their body language. We talk about what we say as the non-verbal signals. As you all understand that non-verbal signals, we can catch it even before somebody is speaks out. Okay, so from their non-verbal communication, we can understand the state of the mind of the individuals as such. And also that he should foster a two-way communication. It should not be some kind of an autocratic kind of a communication, or saying that only do what I say. No, it has to be a two-way communication. So these are what is called as the essential components of effective leader as such. Okay. And when we talk about listening, listening is a crucial leadership skill. Okay, it fosters emotional connections, help others understand your needs as well. So listening is another important uh, qualities or characteristics of an effective communicating leader as such. And how are you going to listen? When there are various techniques of listening. So one is that you're paraphrasing, you say, oh yeah, is that what you say? Okay, or you also ask open-ended questions, or you may pause for a while before you actually respond. So these acts show that you are actually listening to that, and what we call this as an actual active listening as such. Okay, I want to share a small story with you. Okay, we talked about listening, we talked about speaking. What about writing? Okay, right? Here is the one this thing. So David Ogilvy, was one day walking across, advertising guru as such, earlier in the last century, that he was walking around, the New York streets, and one day while walking to his office, he found that a blind person was there, and he had a plate around his neck hanging around because he was blind, and he has put I am blind. Okay, and then Ogilvy walks up to him and says that and introduces himself and says that can I slightly change the wordings on your plate over here, because he was a blind beggar asking for alms, and and he finds that there's a small tin which is kept in front of his. He's seated there, and there are no coins, and so he goes to him and speaks and says that, can I change it? And he said, okay, you change it, no problem. And he adds another word to that, it's spring and I am blind. Okay, so he says that he writes on that, it's spring and I am blind. Okay, and what happened? What do you think would have happened because of this? He just added two other words. His communication was so effective, the people passing by and who were reading this become so empathetic towards that person who was asking for alms, who was a beggar begging for begging bowl, and they opened up their purses and put the coins and money into into his begging bowl as such. Okay, so the thing is that so yeah, so people realize that, yeah, spring is such a beautiful season that we are all able to enjoy this nature around her. And then unfortunately this person seems to be blind, at least let me help him out with some coins as such. Okay, and on the same evening, when David Ogilvy is walking back to his house on the New York Street, he goes and he says, okay, let me go and speak to the beggar and asks what happened as such. And he says, and the beggar recognizes, he says hello, and beggar recognizes that he was the person who spoke to him in the morning. And he said, oh, thank you very much, my bowl is full of coins and notes today. What did you do? He said, nothing, I did nothing, I just only added two words, and it's spring. So this is what is called as effective writing. So when you are writing to your subordinates or your teams, that you need to ensure that your writing is also effective as such. Okay, yeah, and there is more about writing. Now, how are you going to change this? Taxi drivers wanted writing. How does it sound? Does it sound nice? We keep seeing these small advertisements often, okay, in the newspapers and elsewhere. The better way of writing this is drivers wanted. Okay, instead of saying taxi drivers, you say that drivers wanted. Sounds intuitively better than taxi drivers wanted. Similarly, okay, high speed drivers wanted. Okay, sounds better than ambulance drivers wanted. Okay, so you know that ambulance drives at a high speed as such. So this is about what is called as an effective writing for the leaders as such. Okay, and so the last one, so just 2 minutes, I think I'm slightly exceeding the time of an hour, that you need to be authentic, in your communication. You need to be accessible. Accessibility should be there for your followers. And as I mentioned earlier, clarity and confidence. And you need to have empathy for your people, and also not only just the empathy, but also be respectful towards them, and also trust. All these things leads up to a trust, and you will be an effective communicator if you're going to do this. One small thing I just want to add, last one. So how are you going to be an effective communicator? This is for my country. Swami Vivekananda was a great philosopher in the last century, and when he went to Chicago for the congregation of the religious leaders from the world, this is how he spoke. And I'm sure some of you may be aware of this, maybe knowing this as well. Just a second.
Sisters and brothers of America, it fills my heart
When all the other congregational leaders were addressing the gathering as ladies and gentlemen and so on and so forth, this gentleman from India, Swami Vivekananda, addressed the audience who were congregated at that religious thing as brothers and sisters of America. And that was the response. He was the first one to have addressed them. So that shows that, how effective he was in his communication. Okay, and with that, I think we are come to an end of this. Thank you very much for your patience, and I hope you enjoyed understanding about what leadership communication is all about. And I'm open to any questions if you may have any.
Any questions, anyone? Sir, I have a question. Mr. Ayush Emmanuel, I think there is a slight typo. I think the certificate you will get is all fine. You can just fill it. However, I have again set the form over here. Sir, I have a question. I think I'll set the ball rolling so that maybe through that others will ask some questions. Sir, of course, sir, brilliant session, great examples,
Thank you, sir.
and great set of ideas and practices that we can follow from a very small modifications that we can do in terms of course we may not be leaders at this point of time, but doesn't matter. But how we adapt our
No,
day
sir,
to day.
I want one clarification. It doesn't
Yeah.
mean leaders means only CEOs and things like that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I meant. So I'm saying
Okay.
small changes that we can do towards how we communicate with our own peers and bosses and all that would set the ball rolling for us for a greater, career aspirations as such. Yeah. So, sir, I have a question to you. What are the most common communication mistakes leaders make, especially during high pressure situations? Because it's really a tough and very sensitive. Like today, for example, we just heard Microsoft is going to lay off around 6,000 people globally, which is just 3% of their overall workforce. So
Yes.
things like that, so how do leaders, what are the common mistakes that leaders make, especially during high pressure situations? If you can just highlight upon that, sir.
Yeah, so some of the common mistakes which they do is that, they do not think through before, actually when we're talking about, before you communicate to them, you need to think through what you are going to say to them, right? Okay. So it is important for the leaders to understand that, that they need to be authentic, right? Sometimes, due to the pressures, they may lose that authenticity and say something which is irrelevant at that point in time. Okay, so if if it is, yeah, as you're saying that in example, right, or a stressful situation, right, let me take the example, which is very recent, in our memory. Like for example, we just recently had the Indo-Pak conflict, okay, for about 4 days.
Yeah.
And our prime minister, whom I'm proud of, even under that stressful situations, he never showed up, that he was stressed as such. Okay, so he, if you as a leader are going to be, destabilized, think about your followers. What would happen to that? So you need to stay steady, steadfast, in whatever decision you're going to take as such. And before any such decisions are going to be taken, there has to be a lot of thought. Unfortunately, sometimes these decisions are blabbered out, without much thought, which I think they should be avoiding as such.
Got it, sir. Got it. Thank you very much, sir. So participants, any question from any one of you, you can unmute and ask a question. Anyone, any questions?
Or if you don't have any questions at this point in time, you can write to us, and if you have any doubts or anything like that, you want a more understanding, we can always get back to you on that as well. We will reply to you for any of your questions on this leadership communication, should you have it at a later date also. Maybe some questions or maybe are not coming right to your mind right at this point in time. I appreciate that. You can always write to us, and we are there to help you understand better of what the communication, leadership communication is all about.
Yeah. Sir, thank you so much. I will just do the vote of thanks over here, since there are no questions coming up. So, sir, thank you so much for an incredibly insightful session on effective communications for leaders. Your thoughts on the power of clarity, active listening, and purposeful storytelling really resonated with all of us. You set the session rolling with those two brilliant quotes from Sir George Bernard Shaw and Plato that set the context of our session. You also offered us not just theory, but actionable strategies and simple and brilliant communication ideas that leaders at every rightly mentioned can put into practice immediately. And it's been an enriching experience. And we are really grateful for the time and wisdom that you shared with us today. On behalf of the entire team at Alpha Education and our audience, more once again for your time and your expertise, sir. And a huge thanks to all the participants for taking time to join us. We hope you found today's session helpful and inspiring. Please keep an eye out for our upcoming sessions where we'll continue to explore more critical management topics and trends. Please ensure that you have filled in your forms to get your participation certificates. It's all fixed, so you can please fill the form and get your certificates. We'll be back with yet another session on 21st May with another incredible guest and a very important and pertinent topic. Until then, good evening and good night, and have a great weekend ahead. I would request the participants to stay back as we'll discuss our very brief 5 to 10 minute session. Sir, thank you very much. I think I will share. I would like to take the sharing rights from you so that I can my presentation for our participants, sir. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. So thank you. It has been a great pleasure interacting with you all. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
You
much.
too, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very
Take
much.
care. Take care.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just sharing the presentation. I hope it's visible. Okay. Yeah. So I hope my presentation is visible. So this is the Executive MBA program from Dayanand Sagar University, Bangalore. So we have over 11 specializations. So it starts with project management, product management. We have operations management. We also have human resource management. We have marketing. We have business analytics, we have digital technology management, we have entrepreneurship and innovation. We also have financial management, we have logistics and supply chain management, and we have global business as such. So what are the key pillars? So basically, leadership is one of the key strategic pillars at for the program. Creativity is another pillar that we focus largely on across all the sectors. Problem solving through case studies, etc. Then technology through the use cases, through the case studies that we discuss in class, through the topics, across each and every semester that's being taught to you as such. Entrepreneurship also, you have them on semester 2. And then if you're taking entrepreneurship as one of your core subjects in semester 4, we focus a lot on that. And then we also have a team at the university who can help you out in case you want to know a little more and reach out to a certain community and all that. Our team will be able to help you out. And then we also have some sustainability, which also becomes a core to what businesses and industries are really going through, because sustainability is going to be one of the critical component about how a business functions in today's day and age. So ultimately, the team that is going to manage you as students, our job is to create better managers out of you. So when I say team, I'm also talking about definitely the critical factor of the program are the faculty who are going to help you to be better managers by the usage of the classes, the presentations that they will expect from you, the assignments, and not just that, also through the case studies that they're going to discuss with you on and off across all the semesters as such. Yeah. So who can do the executive MBA? So anybody who has a passion and discipline for learning. You need to be a working professional, of course. You need to be a graduate from any stream. There is no age restriction to this. You could be of any nationality. You could have English. So English is going to be the common mode of communication. I mean, that's how it's definitely going to work, especially in management, schools, etc. And of course, lastly, if you're aspiring for a professional growth in your career, irrespective of whatever age, whatever stage, whatever designation you are in, this is going to really help you to boost your career as such. And all we need and expect from the candidate is the intent, the drive, and the aspiration to achieve your goals. And we are there to help you and support you and be the ladder that you want to scale for your next milestone in your career. So how to learn? So basically, it's a 17-month program. Um, uh, the classes will be held hybrid. Some classes will be held in Saudi Arabia. Assignments will be there, which will be online. And then the written exams is going to be held in Bangalore. We are trying to make it easy for students where instead of coming 4 times in a year, you can probably come to the university maybe 2 times in a year and give 2 of your semesters back to back, through 2 weeks or something like that. And then you can get done with your, 2 semesters, and then you can move on to your next semester. And then finally, another date and time will be given to you where you can, finish off your trimester 3 and 4 as such. Lastly, it's a master's degree, globally recognized, and it's not a distance education. Also, let me tell you the reason why we focus, including Bangalore, I mean, not just Saudi Arabia, including Bangalore, why it has to be a written exam, because this is what HR people really look at in terms of, the quality, in terms of the value, in terms of the credibility of the program itself, largely rests on the examinations. So if it's an online examination, we all know, I mean, I don't have to really harp on this, how online examinations are conducted and how easily it is to, we can really scam through online examinations. And that's not really the intent. The intent of this program is to make, number one, make better managers out of you. And number two is that you have to feel proud about once you, and we have seen this, we have a cohort of over 2,400 students who have passed out so far. You can talk to each one of them. They will tell you the kind of joy they have, the pride they have, that they have, acquired their certificates. This is real hard work, blood and sweat that they have done, studying, working hard, attending classes, and then coming, to the exams, appearing for the exams, and then, writing the exams. So the kind of pride you feel after having your certificates is really something else. And that's what a written exam will do. And that's what really HR people are really looking at today, and not someone, see, I mean, I can do it through Coursera, but we really don't know, or an online course, we really don't know the quality of how it is being held or something like that, So a written exam is really, proves the fact that, yes, this person has really worked hard, toiled day and night to achieve this sort of a certification. Yeah. So what are the benefits of executive MBA? So one is, it helps you to be a leader in the kind of business that you are currently. It helps you to be a startup founder in case you are, finding the next big step towards being an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur within your organization. It definitely helps you towards, scaling up to the next level in terms of a different career, or within the same organization, scaling your, next growth within the organization. And there are a lot of examples that I can tell you within those 2,400 plus students who have got their next set of, next set of uh, achievements in terms of, the next stage in their career within the organization. We can give you lots of such examples as such. And then, all our professors, almost 98% of our professors and more, are from the industry. So whom you met today in the session today is from the industry. He's not an academician, but he has been teaching for the university for quite some years. Yeah. So that's the kind of people that we are going to expose you to. And then lastly, there is no, you cannot assign an opportunity cost to something like, like an executive MBA program or even an educational certificate, because the kind of experience you get and the kind of value that it provides to you is something else, and you cannot associate it with maybe your Gucci bag or your Prada perfume or your Rolex watch or something like that. It's just an example I'm giving you, so you cannot really associate it to any product or anything else. So the value that it gives you is something very different. And lastly, we have four programs. So we have a weekly webinar which you are privy to right now. Then we have a 3-month course weekend program. These are 11 specialties which I just spoke about at the start of the program. We have a 12-month course diploma which talks about semester 1, 2, and 3, which are hardcore management principles which are taught over a duration of 12 months, where you seek your diploma at the end of it. And then lastly, you have a 17-month course, a master's degree, which is our flagship program, which includes at the end of the fourth semester, you will have you can choose a specialty and then you can focus on it and then earn your master's degree. Yeah. So this is all I had to sort of focus. So you can probably take a screenshot of this and then reach out to each one of us. We'll be more than happy to talk to you. My name is Professor Rajan, and I conduct this session on every Wednesday 5 p.m. Saudi time. I am also available for students who need to have some sort of a counseling in terms of how to go about, and any queries that you have about the program between Sunday to Thursday. Also available on Saturdays if you want, between 2:30 to 3:30, between 12 to 1, I'm sorry, Saudi time, which is 2:30 to 3:30 India time. So 12 to 1 Saudi time, I'm available. So in case you have any queries, you can just reach out to any one of us, take a screenshot, and then ping us. We'll be more than happy to talk to you and take you through your queries and sort it out, and help you out in terms of choosing the right kind of program for yourself. Yeah. So I'll just stop sharing, and then in case you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to take your queries and then talk to you about it. Thanks, Ayush. It was great. Thanks, Annie, also. Yes, we are doing our best to make it a real good sort of webinar to each one of you. But we also are there to help you in your as career guidance, someone as career guidance. So in case I have any questions, we'll be more than happy to assist you. Yeah, I think the numbers are dropping. So thank you so much, everyone. We'll see you in the next session, next webinar as such. Thank you very much.